Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas and invite wonderful guests and talk about things that people need to know about. And today I have with me our hip hop herbalist, Ben Steezy. And so let me bring him on and we can see what new things he may have. Hi, Ben. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Gail. It feels really good to be here. What's up, Free Rangers? How's everybody doing across the world?
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but we do try to keep people informed. And that's another reason I like the products because a lot of people don't know about Shilajit. And I think it's a wonderful substance from Mother Earth. And it's my understanding there's been some new and interesting research that has come out. And I don't remember the name of the substance in particular. I call it a phytonutrient, which is a lot easier. But anyway, why don't you tell us a little bit about its connection with cannabis and that sort of thing? It's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I find so fascinating about Shilajit, Gail, is that there's so much that we still don't know about these individual compounds that are within it. There's over 50,000 unique compounds in just the fulvic acid, and that gets so much of the attention. Fulvic acid is this just absolutely amazing, nutrient dense part of the soil, basically, what we should be having in our soil and what we would have in our soil if we didn't monocrop and if we let things decompose. But one of the lesser talked about compounds is actually a rare metabolite known as dibenzo alpha pyrones. And these
That's a mouthful.
yeah,
Good
right?
job there on saying that.
So the dibenzo alpha pyrones are these rare metabolites that are unique to Shilajit. And the way that they're created are microorganisms are eating and digesting the tannins of the plant material that is decomposing to create the Shilajit. So this is actually a compound that's the result of a microorganism that has digested one of the plant tannins. So this is really
tannins bother people too.
they do. And, the tannins aren't present in the decomposed plant material once it's gone through that full process. The microorganisms, themselves also decompose during the process of the Shilajit being created. But these unique metabolites, they play a direct role in cannabinoid synthesis on a cellular level. So when somebody ingests Shilajit, first thing in the morning is what we always recommend on an empty stomach, how you get the most benefits out of it.
That's what I do. I take it. I love it. I really do.
I'm so glad that you do. And, that's what we hear from many people because there's so many different ways that it can impact your lifestyle in a positive way. But let's say that you use a CBD product. I know you're big on like full spectrum hemp paste and CBD and things like that.
Exactly. Yes, I am.
One of the benefits you may have noticed, and some of the benefits that a lot of people notice, is that when they take Shilajit first thing in the morning and then within the next 30 minutes take their CBD oil or their hemp paste or whatever form of cannabis, they're going to notice that they get a much better desired result. If you're looking to calm the nervous system, calm anxiety with the hemp paste, with the CBD, then you're going to notice that effect will take place a lot quicker in the body.
I have noticed it.
You'll feel the calming a lot sooner, and you'll also notice that it is much it doesn't take as much of the CBD for you to get that desired result. So you can actually take a little bit less of the whatever cannabis extract that you're using and still get an amplified effect and get your desired results. And one of the interesting we'll call it a study, for lack of a better word, but they had a test group of 60 individuals that were daily cannabis users, and they were administered 250 milligrams of Shilajit in the morning, And at the end of a 60-day cycle, they noticed that on average, each one of those 60 individuals was able to decrease their cannabis consumption by about 50%. So about half of the medicine that they needed in order to get the same desired result with the addition of the Shilajit, which is just absolutely phenomenal. So
Yes, it is. That's really awesome because any way that you can, enhance or augment the benefits, that's wonderful.
yeah,
And what else do you ever? It's kind of amazing how that works. Um, how?
yeah. Well, these metabolites, they're actually helping to synthesize these fat soluble cannabinoids on a cellular level. So now our our cell, has the powerhouse, which is the mitochondria. It's producing ATP. ATP is responsible for a lot of our physiological functions and most of what we do on a cellular level to be able to, be an active, optimized human. So when you're feeding the mitochondria all these trace nutrients, the trace minerals, the amino acids, all of the things that are in the fulvic acid, and then you're bringing in these other unique plant alkaloids like CBD, for instance, you now have the dibenzo alpha pyrones that's present in the shilajit helping to synthesize that cannabinoid into an already really healthy functioning cell. So now that is getting processed in a way that's going to benefit the body a lot more because that cell is no longer playing catch up. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, and I think it's kind of a wonderful thing because it has to be providing something that's really needed by the human body because we have a lot of mitochondrial dysfunction out there,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and we basically we're getting poison from our air, water, and food in many ways, and so in order to counteract that, Shilajit apparently has some things in it that are definitely missing in our diet for it to have that kind of um, effect. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because remember that if we look back to, prior to modern agriculture, we realized that we're not getting the same nutrients in our soil. When you test the soil, it doesn't have the fulvic content, doesn't have the humic content, right? Because
Mhm.
no longer
Monocropping.
we don't allow things to decompose with monocropping, right? So what ends up happening is the soil gets depleted of these nutrients that are vital to human health, and now Shilajit has always been used in Ayurvedic medicine as a rejuvenation tonic to bring somebody back to health, to bring somebody back to homeostasis. And, it has neuroprotective qualities. So it's very beneficial for the brain. It's an immune modulator. So it helps to calm down an overactive immune system while it'll boost a low producing immune system and balance you out. It helps bring the body into homeostasis. So the baseline for most people is already being depleted from these just basic nutrients, most of the minerals that we are lacking in our, standard American diets. And
We're lacking a lot in minerals, that's for
lacking,
sure.
that's one of the biggest deficiencies,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
the Shilajit has 85 trace ionic minerals, and when they're in trace ionic form, that means that it's the easiest for the body to actually assimilate into you on a cellular level. You're able to use these minerals, and that right there is going to make a lot of people feel much better. You're going to have more energy, you're going to have a lot more mental clarity, you're going to be able to get through your day with more stamina and more endurance. But what's really beautiful is all of these unique compounds play different roles in the body systemically. So you have the neuroprotective qualities. If you're, maybe you have a family history of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or dementia, and you want to take preventative action against that, that's something that Shilajit is really known for and has been studied time and time again to help to improve cognitive function and protect the brain as a neuroprotective compound. So it's really, really quite fascinating, all the different applications that it can be used for. And what we were talking about, just here at the beginning of the show with its link to cannabinoid synthesis, is some of the newer elements of Shilajit that we're just discovering in the last 10 years that, it does play a direct role in helping to bring nutrients from other plants and other plant alkaloids into the cells of the body and make better use of those nutrients as well.
Well, one of those things that's so important that we forget about is that I don't care how much good stuff you consume, if you're not absorbing it or it's not getting into your cells, you have a problem.
Right.
And apparently the substances and compounds that are in the Shilajit have properties that allow the nutrients to be taken up into the cells. And that's pretty amazing. Have you ever, or has anybody ever reported on the hertz value or of Shilajit? Has it ever been measured or anything like that?
Oh yeah. Are you familiar with where functional mushrooms fall on that spectrum?
Pretty in a pretty good place, I assume. Not right off the top of my head, no.
Up in like the high 300s, 400 range, I think.
Wow. Okay. Wonderful.
So Shilajit's just right above functional mushrooms.
It's above oh wow, that's impressive. I haven't seen that hertz value. Yeah. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. They work really well together too. The Shilajit and the functional mushrooms, like things like cordyceps, reishi, lion's mane, chaga.
Let's talk about some of them individually. I think you have a new combination product with mushrooms. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Once I started to, actually make legit more of a mainstream thing and launched it as a brand, I brought a lot of really interesting people into my life. And one of the connections was my friends who are the founders of Omni. And Omni is a functional mushroom manufacturer. They grow and process functional mushrooms to the highest standard. So we work with things like agaricus and lion's mane and cordyceps, reishi, a lot of the mushrooms that I just mentioned, as well as other adaptogens, things like holy basil, ashwagandha, ceremonial grade cacao. And they've created a line of products that are really supportive of like a microdosing regimen. So one of the products that I now offer, it's something that you would take, like people have heard of like the Paul Stamets stack, for instance. Paul Stamets, the world's top mycologist, recommends when microdosing psychedelics like psilocybin mushrooms that you take it in unison with lion's mane and niacin. Lion's mane being a functional mushroom, and then the niacin being a basic vitamin like B3.
Lion's mane is noted for cognitive function too, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah, so it has neuroprotective qualities, and it enhances cognitive function as well. It's gotten a lot of popularity in the last several years because of its nootropic-like effects. But the key with lion's mane is to take it with the supporting adaptogens that are really going to make it work fully.
Such as
things
ashwagandha?
Like Shilajit. Ashwagandha is a great herb. It has different functions in the body. It's not bad for your brain by any means. It has good benefits for your brain as well. But ashwagandha is fantastic for people that have any type of adrenal fatigue, or if you're trying to get off of caffeine and restore the health of your kidneys and adrenals, then ashwagandha is a really good one for that. But the neuroprotective qualities of lion's mane and shilajit together are definitely a phenomenal way. And these particular herbs taken with a microdose of psychedelics, like a psilocybin, is going to give you the real benefits that people are looking for as far as increased neuro function and opening up new neural pathways and things like that.
Have you, if you don't mind my asking, have you actually had that experience yourself? Have you
Yeah,
tried it?
years ago I did a microdosing regimen
Mhm.
where for about 90 days I would take about 100 milligrams of psilocybin every 3 days.
Uh-huh.
And I always really enjoyed the day after. The day of was always great too, but I did find that it was very stabilizing for mood and did help my mind to just stay more within my control, not wander as much, and I felt more compassionate and more empathetic, and like I was able to focus.
Wow.
And I feel like the thing that's beautiful about that is doing the full protocol. I carried a lot of those things with me. This was 3 or 4 years ago that I did that, so I feel like I
Fascinating.
still feel the effects. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I know there's a lot of people talking about the microdosing of the psychedelics and so on now, and that's always been a very controversial, the idea of using them or whatever. Um, However, they're finding that it helps with depression, and it's probably, like you say, opening up other neurogenic pathways. And I mean, look at what we get in our water: fluoride, a neurotoxin. So we do need neuroprotectants to protect us from what we're getting through our municipal water supply. You know that our government just loves us. But
Right.
anyway, loves us to death.
Yep.
Anyway, so any neuroprotectants that we can get are certainly important, because we're seeing dementia in much younger ages than we've ever seen it before.
Yeah,
Not
neurodegenerative diseases in general are just on the
yes,
rise, and it's because of the glyphosate, it's because of the fluoride,
yes.
it's because of these neurodegenerative, neurotoxins that cause neurodegenerative diseases. I mean, it's just calling a spade at this point. It's not something that you can really deny.
Yeah, it's so amazing that Florida, I believe, is banned in almost all European countries now.
Same with glyphosate,
Same with glyphosate. And what's happening here in America?
right?
Whoa. Well, that could be a whole debate in itself, but it just seems like uh, really, as an American, we are under siege, and we need to protect ourselves in any way we can. And now it's become very difficult for people to be able to afford to protect themselves as well, and so that's a whole nother issue. Um, but
Well, when
it
you're kept in
seems
survival, it's you start to lock down those higher functions of self where you can be of service and be creative and expand your prosperity in a meaningful way. That's really hard to do when you have a nervous system that's under constant attack and you have a stress response that is telling you to be in fight or flight constantly, right?
yeah.
And we have a society, and especially the times that we're in right now with inflation and gas prices, food costs, all that stuff that's going on in this post-COVID era. We are really seeing that survival mechanism, that fight or flight mechanism, is really at an all-time high in a lot of people. And it's why it's more important now than ever, in my opinion, to really do the inner work and really look at how you can be part of the solution by just being more mindful, meditating more, taking adaptogens and things that are protecting you and detoxing all the chemicals that are in our environment, and being an example of that. That's really what this is about for me. Is I want to help empower people to take their health and wellness into their own hands and to show up and this is the best, truth that they have, and that their truth, their self at the highest level. And I believe that there's a lot of tools that we have. A lot of those are, accessible just by our breath and things that we all have access to, whether, it's meditation or breath work or yoga. And then
all of those help, every single one of them that you mentioned.
Absolutely. And to me, things like Shilajit and some of these other adaptogens and tonic herbs, they help me to take those practices deeper. And they also help me to sustain, you were mentioning that it doesn't hurt to have an extra line of defense in today's world, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
We have a joke amongst my friend group that, imagine if we weren't being sprayed with chemicals 24/7, like how healthy we would be.
Whoa, what a concept.
Right. So, my personal journey, I had a lot of health issues and a lot of, things like autoimmune disease and other issues that
probably from those things. Yeah. But we don't want to say that. So
well, be careful about, I've already might have said too much, but I love talking to you, and I don't know what's going on with the audience right now, but if anybody's out there and would love to ask questions about, some of the new stuff that we're working on or what we're doing, I'd be happy to take some audience questions too.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we're getting too many right now, and that's probably partly because we didn't get to put an announcement out that we were going on. We just came on due to some events that wouldn't quit yesterday that I told you about. So anyway, it's what do you have any suggestions for people in the way of their food intake and their herbal intake, since you work with herbs, and there's herbal teas and things like that? Do you think that they are much help?
Yeah, I have a few herbal teas that I always keep just like in rotation myself. I drink a lot of Tulsi and a lot of Gynostemma, and these are adaptogens themselves. Anything that helps to regulate the nervous system and helps to put the body into homeostasis, it's great to have as a part of your diet. There's little to no risk, and there's tremendous benefit with a lot of these things. So just make sure that, for me, sourcing is always really important. Make sure that it's a reputable source. And
yes, it is very, and how it's manufactured as well.
Exactly. You want to make sure that you're actually getting what's being advertised on the label. And that's, so yeah, right now, Tulsi and Gynostemma are my two favorite herbal teas, but they're all, there's plenty that are great that I probably haven't even tried.
Oh, there's quite a few of them out there, and they all have health benefits. There's one, Dr. Morse has something called healing tea, and it's a combination of a lot of different leaves and so on. It's absolutely amazing, and it's beneficial for a lot of conditions. So I think herbs and teas and things of that nature, we've lost sight of the benefits that we have from what's been provided to us by nature. And it's good to see people like yourself promoting things that many people don't know about. Yeah. Like Shilajit, I wasn't even familiar with it, and I get exposed to a lot of things. So, and I love it. I do. I use it regularly. It's one of those things that just resonates. And what's really interesting is when you think about what we're learning about energy medicine and energy, vibration, frequency type things, and you find out that the things that you're suggesting, like functional mushrooms, Shilajit, having a very high Hertz value, because voltage is what it's all about. So your nerves and everything's firing properly.
Yeah. We're electrical beings, so
exactly.
got to stay electrified. And these, things like Shilajit and these other adaptogens are definitely going to help with that. Because my personal favorite, reason for taking them is that I do, all of the benefits that they talk about, that feels like I'm just charging up my battery,
It really does. It really does. That's a good way of putting it. And let's face it, I think Americans have been put under more stress in recent years than they have in a long time. As a matter of fact, the whole planet for that matter. So having ways of being able to counteract the stress response, because we're always in flight or fight, and it's like, oh my goodness, that's not healthy at all. And that's where it, like you were saying too, about the entire body, mind, and spirit, meditation, take care of your body physically, eat clean food and non-GMO and organic as much as possible, and drink clean water. That's another biggie. And give your body an ability to fight what we're up against. And there you go. I left mine in the kitchen, unfortunately. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah, supercharged hydrogen-rich water with Shilajit.
I used to make my own hydrogen-rich water. That was a couple of years ago, and then I stopped doing it. And it's really beneficial too. I noticed that you have several articles in your blog on your website about different things. Now, one of those would be the benefits of Shilajit on your skin, right?
Yeah. So really, really awesome study that was done several years ago. A group of middle-aged women that were over 35 years old. I believe the age group was 35 to 55. They had collected samples to look at the collagen inside of their skin at the beginning and the end of the study, and the Shilajit group had increased collagen production by a very significant amount, to where there was noticeable decreases in things like wrinkles. There was more elasticity in the different patients' skins, and they were just overall much more healthy, samples than what they got in the beginning of the study after they administered 250 milligrams of Shilajit. So in our liquid drops, that's about one dropper full. So you'd take like,
how full is a dropper? Oh, okay.
That would be 330 milligrams right there. So that's a little bit more than what they were using in the study. And we found that that's really, anything between 300 and 500 milligrams is a really great therapeutic dose. You could even go upwards of a gram. And because our Shilajit tests so clean, it surpasses California standards for heavy metal content. So we don't even have to put the Prop 65 notice on our bottles, because there's absolutely no lead, there's no mercury. Like, it doesn't test for any of the heavy metals that you would, obviously not want in your body or your product. So we're able to, you could take up to 4 or 5 grams of our Shilajit, and the worst thing that you're going to experience would be a mild detox symptoms. If some people, a small percentage of the population might experience a detox symptom, because Shilajit is a natural chelator. So it helps to bind to heavy metals in the body and take it out of the body. It helps your body with its natural detoxification systems. So
I wonder what it is that works in the Shilajit, because we have, zeolite is a big worker in that regard. Yeah. And so there has to be some kind of substance in, the humic acid plays a role as well.
The humic is known for chelation, and the fulvic has some chelation.
I just thought of that after I was saying that, thinking about that, but that's really That's really true. Um, but the skin benefits, I got to tell this a short little story. When I was probably about in my early 30s, I was talking to an older gentleman who was about in his 80s, and he said, you know, one of the things that I hate the most about getting older are the changes that happen to your skin.
Mhm.
And now, for me, 30 years older since that time and that was said, boy, do I really know exactly what he's talking about. You do see changes in your skin that you just really, oh, that doesn't even look like me anymore. Cut it out. Stop it. So it's kind of nice if there's something that you can use to help counteract that at least a little bit. I know the telomeres only last so long, but that's very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the dot connector just came into the chat. Hi there, Christine. Glad you're here. And if we're looking for questions, I don't know if there's any questions out there, but I'm not seeing too many. But we didn't get to announce this ahead of time, so that's probably mainly the main reason why. Now, there's other. We talked a little bit already about um, the information on cognitive benefits, but there are some other. Um, well, we have the Shasandra. You also use that. What about Shilajit increasing testosterone?
Yeah. So,
I mean, most men would like that, I would think.
yeah, and a lot of women too could benefit from healthy testosterone increase. We have a pretty low T society, and it's because of, again, a lot of things that we talked about, the endocrine disruptors in the
Yeah, in
world.
our food. Yeah.
Um,
And
so
our people that eat meat, they get a lot of hormones, estrogen type hormones from the meat because they use that to fatten up the cattle or to fatten up the chickens to make them grow faster. It's
yeah, factory farm meat, you're definitely going to have a lot of endocrine disruption from that type of stuff, and same
yeah,
with GMO food, and that's in pesticides. There's endocrine disruptors in the plastics and like all the petroleum based stuff, and
atrazine, glyphosate, you name it. They're
yeah.
killing off your gut bacteria. They're killing off. Um,
So that's helping to create tons of disruption in our endocrine system and with our hormone production. Shilajit helps to modulate the endocrine system. So what you're actually seeing is that you're bringing your hormones more into balance when you start to take Shilajit. That's why men will often see a significant increase in testosterone, up to about, I mean, they've tracked as high as 50% increases in testosterone.
wow,
That's significant. That's like, not that's rare, I guess, but the average was 25%, which is still very
that's still
significant.
impressive.
Yeah,
That's
so
very impressive.
they talk about that in a few studies with the tracking of increasing testosterone in men, and you can see it if you are staying even somewhat active. You'll notice that after you take Shilajit, that you have more endurance and more stamina. You're feeling more strength, like picking up your heavy bag isn't as difficult anymore, kind of thing. Those are all common benefits. I did see that Debbie asked about benefit for large body joints and like cartilage. There's another study, I think it might be in the research section of my website as well, and you can find all of these on .gov sites. Like, I usually look at PubMed for a lot of research, but basically people who were injured and had a below the knee fracture, a group of 60 or more below the knee fracture patients were given Shilajit, and there was there was a 90-day study done on them and a control group, and what they noticed is that the people taking Shilajit that had a below the knee fracture, they healed about 15 to almost a month, 2 weeks to a month earlier than the non-Shilajit group. So, from
Ain't
the
that interesting?
group.
I,
So
I believe a lot of it's result of the firing of the of the voltage is what I'm getting at. The ability of the body to have the substances and compounds that it needs to be able to operate at a more optimum level from an electrical magnetic standpoint.
yeah, well, when you feed the body what it needs, now all of a sudden the healing processes of our body, the rejuvenation processes of our body are working at an optimal rate. So you're able to see what you're truly capable of, right?
Right.
And it's like turning the volume up from 3 to 10 with your ability to manage stress and breeze through life. A lot of people talk about flow state, getting into a flow state, and
Go with the flow. Yeah.
right. And that's a beautiful way to manage the stress response, is if you're able to adapt to change. And adaptogens, and Shilajit being a master adaptogen, it's going to help you to manage the stress response so much more gracefully. Really just gives you the opportunity to be present and mindful in situations that would otherwise frustrate or make you feel bitter,
Throw you into a tizzy. Somehow modulate that stress, and then I just love the synergistic effect that it has with the CBDs. That's just amazing. And let's see, what about, have they ever done any studies that you're aware of with menopausal women, because they start using or needing more testosterone at that time?
Yeah, that's one of the huge benefits for women in that age group, is that Shilajit will help them to get a better grasp on their hormone levels. And you'll see that once you have a better grasp on your hormone levels, a lot of the negatives of menopause start to kind of dissipate and not be as difficult. One of my customers in particular said that it's really helped her with hot flashes. She hasn't been getting hot flashes anymore since she started taking the Shilajit. And that's just like a testimonial. There's no data to back that up.
Anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, anecdotal. It's not empirical. Exactly.
I know, I love that. That's when Western medicine wants to try to discredit something, it's always anecdotal. As if what people are saying and the experiences they had doesn't matter. Yes, it does. What about autism? Have you heard anything? Any results with using Shilajit with any autistic children or whatever?
I've loved some of the research about cannabidiol, CBD being used for autism. I can't personally think of any instance where I've seen direct benefit, but I also think that as a society, we probably really miscategorize a lot of autistic children. We don't have infrastructure to actually bring out their brilliance and their unique gifts.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
There's a lot of people that they would say are on the spectrum, and that have beautiful magical gifts to give to us. And if that's nurtured, we see it express itself in a really beautiful way. But unfortunately, we don't leave a lot of room for that with a lot of our current systems.
Yeah, that and because it's it's not necessarily that new, because it's been around in Eastern medicine for a long time, and used to be taken by the royals. Isn't that correct, or something to that effect? So,
The Taoist immortals are my favorite.
Okay. It just is one of those things that just hasn't been studied that much. So there's probably a lot more that we will see in the future. It's just like, really, I don't know if people realize it, but nutrition is a very young science as well, and they've made a lot of mistakes along the way. Because it's just like having that high Hertz value is the type of food that we would be and should be eating, and that's, you're talking about living food and raw food and herbs, fruits, vegetables, lots of fruits, things that we've been told to kind of stay away from, which is really bad because it's exactly what we need. Americans notoriously have a very low intake of fruits and vegetables in their diet.
Yeah.
And I can say that from interviewing thousands of people over the years. It's very common. That's why there's so many. That's in part why there's so many mineral deficiencies, but it's also our farming methods and our lack of attention to the soil and so on.
And our current system's not making it easy, aside from just like big agriculture and the way that we dump pesticides on everything and monocrop, the items that you get in the produce section. A lot of the produce that we have available to us at the grocery store are the products of human, interaction. Manipulation. Yeah. It's, genetic engineering of these plants, cruciferous, like things like broccoli and collard greens and kale are all, genetic mutations of mustard. So it's really an interesting dynamic that we put ourselves into when 95% of everything in the grocery store is borderline toxic or poison, if not worse.
Well, and then the sad part of it is too is that, like, as far as your produce section, if you get away from the pesticide stuff as much as you have the organic stuff, you still there's things that they do that make things a lot worse. Like when they desiccate the wheat with a substance like glyphosate, it just saturates it. And that's where all these gluten problems came from. It's not the gluten, it's the glyphosate.
I love that that you're bringing light to that, because it's something I often tell people, the gluten-free craze and this, need for people to, all of the diagnosed celiac people,
irritable bowel syndrome, you name it. We've got a lot of digestive disorders.
It's increased a lot, right? And,
yeah.
And, there's things in wheat, things like lectins that can be harmful for the digestive tract and can, be a big initiator of autoimmune issues if it's something that is done, if it's abused or you're eating a lot of things with lectins in it, then that's something that can happen and does happen to people. But the glyphosate is so much.
That's a real culprit, because I don't think that even the lectins or those things would be a problem if it wasn't for the glyphosate.
Yeah.
Because I know so many people that have told me that when they go over to Europe, say pasta lovers, okay, they go over to Europe or Italy where they don't use glyphosate, where they don't use GMO wheat and so on, and they don't have the issues that they have here if they eat the pasta here versus eating the pasta there. So right. How do you explain that?
Yeah. Bear knows. Monsanto knows. They've known for a long time.
Oh yeah, and it's hidden from the public, and that's what's really sad. But more and more disclosure is coming out, and people are, the more people that bring up these things, the better it is, because the more informed people will become. You would think they would want an educated public, but I guess if you want unlimited control, you don't want your public educated because then they might become critical thinkers, and that could be a problem for the profit and power. Yeah. So are there any other studies that are new studies that you might like to talk about that have come out that are about the Shilajit or even the functional mushrooms, the Omni? What is that good for?
Yeah, so not too much more research that I want to talk about necessarily, but one of the things that I'm really excited about with the Omni, partnering with these guys, it made a lot of sense because the Shilajit enhances all of the different herbs that they're working with and all of the functional mushrooms that they're working with. And this particular formula, it was designed to accompany a microdose regimen. If that's something that you're doing, then this has all of the neuroprotective adaptogens in it that are going to enhance that experience and make it more beneficial for you. It's also designed to be taken daily, so you can take it on the off days as well. And that helps with the integration of everything that you're getting out of that experience. For somebody that's not microdosing and that's not their thing or not something they have access to, and it's definitely not something that me or Gail are recommending because legal status in most places, unless you're like in Oregon or Santa Cruz, then it's one of those things that we're kind of at the tip of the iceberg in mainstream medical acceptance. It's, to me, marijuana, cannabis has really been a gateway drug in a big way. And what I mean by that is not like the crazy propaganda reefer madness type of stuff.
Yeah, please. Okay, let's clarify that. Yeah.
It's a gateway to opening up the door for all of these other medicines, all of these other beautiful
Herbal medicines
compounds that have been shunned, and things like psychedelic mushrooms. Psilocybin is so beneficial and so understudied, so misunderstood, so taboo in a world that really could use it more than ever, in my opinion. So having that is a big part of our bigger mission, is to help to perpetuate the safe and thorough legalization process that's going to get us to where psilocybin mushrooms and some of these other psychedelic compounds are as accessible and as acceptable as cannabis now is. So
I like to look at it as being lawful rather than legal.
Right. Yeah. So we've watched cannabis open that gateway. It's been an amazing gateway drug.
Well, that certainly is a positive way of looking at it, as a gateway herb.
So that's at the forefront of the discussion of the direction that we're going with, things that we're funding as we grow, and the projects that we're excited about, and the things that we're taking an interest in is some of the psychedelic research and legislation that is now being pushed to the forefront of mass consciousness and the collective consciousness. So,
well, about this microdosing, do people, if they wanted to do that, do they have to get that on the black market?
Unfortunately, that's
so to speak,
the main way these days. But like I had mentioned, there are some places where it has been decriminalized to the point where there are vendors and companies that are popping up that are taking advantage of the decriminalization status in places like Oregon and Santa Cruz, California, and there's a few other spots around the country. But I was again, it's not something that I would recommend doing, but I was on Instagram the other day and saw a microdosing company that sent, they didn't have any of the other adaptogens or supporting herbs, but they sent just the psilocybin and capsules, all shipped to all 50 states from Oregon. And I don't think that's legal, what they're doing. I don't know, how they're finding the loophole for that. But I looked on their frequently asked questions page, and I noticed that they do address that, and they say because of the status in Oregon that there's no liability for the customer and that they don't have to worry, everything's shipped discreetly and they'll receive it in 2 to 3 days. And I won't mention the name of the company, but I just thought that was really interesting and kind of a brave move. You know, what part of me is like, wow, that's really courageous and that's really awesome. And I'm like so happy to see this. And then the other part of me is like, oh, like this isn't the right way to do it. This is going to cause more harm than good because you're jumping the gun. Like there's, you know, there's right ways to do this, and, you know, ways that is just going to cause more friction that's unnecessary. And that's
You know, what would be so nice is if there was truth to some of the talk about the size of the government being reduced substantially, which would help prevent that type of thing, and people would have more access to everything that they should have in the first place.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's ever going to manifest, I'm still waiting and hoping, but.
Well, you know, the big thing that we've been having a lot of discussions about the ethos of Lajit and really like what our mission is and the greater purpose of what we're doing. And one of the reasons that I put such a huge priority on the individual empowerment to create a beautiful, divine, blissful internal state is because I really have been just seeing over and over again and getting the download in my own practice that our external state is a reflection of our internal state. And through all of the chaos in the world, through all of the harm that we've seen and the different types of, you know, psychological warfare that we've been subjected to, I've seen people that have walked through these last few years and made their own internal paradise, and their external circumstances are a reflection of that. They've gotten to do all the things that a lot of people are fearful of in the collective right now, like travel and start businesses, quit jobs, take risks, have children, you know, do these things that are, to me, living a purposeful, mission-driven life.
Yes.
And because they've created an internal state that caters to that, their external state has no choice but to reflect it. So, you know, that's just something that I really felt moved to share, because it's something I'm integrating in my own life, and I'm seeing how it's accurate 100% of the time for me, and something that I've just witnessed. You know, we really can create heaven on earth, and there's nothing wrong with the world. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. That's, you know, and that's
the attitude and the intention.
There, well, and it's a Taoist belief, you know. I mean, this is from Taoist philosophy that, you know, the world doesn't need changing or fixing, you know. And often when we poke and prod at things and try to change them, it spoils them, makes it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what do we have control over? Well, we don't have control over people, places, things, circumstances, locations. We have control over the way we respond to all those things. We have the
That's
control
big,
over our
right there. Yeah, that's very big.
So this is our ethos is, you know, honor your body, discipline your mind, nurture your emotions. That's the first 3 pillars. If we can get those 3 in alignment, then you're already operating at what most people would consider optimal. Most people would consider, you know, you really have it all together if you have those 3 in order. And from there, you have the ability to serve your society, expand your prosperity, shine your soul. And shining your soul is when you have reached a position where you can be of service, you can take care of your internal state first and foremost, and really serve yourself. You can serve your family, your friends, your society, the people around you, the people in your circle, and show up in a way that brings balance and harmony to their lives. And you can do it effortlessly and seamlessly. And, you know, if you were to ask me, how do we create paradise on earth, or how do we, you know, change the world for the better? I mean, this is my answer. It's we start with the individual. We start with ourselves. And the more examples that we have of that on this planet, then the more that we're going to see that manifest externally and actually become integrated into the collective consciousness. And we're seeing it more and more. I mean, like transformational festivals are a good example of that. Some of the things that have happened, even digitally, I mean, things like the Free Range podcast, Gail, it's like we're bringing together people that are thinking about solution that's bigger than themselves, and they're activated by something that is not just within them, but it has everything to do with them doing the internal work. People don't come and listen to your show, I believe, because they haven't done some self-reflection and inner work on their own, or maybe they're just starting their journey and this is part of that. But it's still the intention that you've laid the groundwork for through your platform, and that's just more of the same of what I'm doing and what a lot of other creators are doing right now. And a lot of those people are the people that I'm mentioning that have created a paradise for themselves over the last few years, where most of the world has been in turmoil and chaos. And when I witness that, I see this beautiful manifestation and reflection of what they've done for their own journey and the work that they've done on themselves. So.
That really, and what people need to realize, that when they work on themselves, it permeates out of them into the collective and affects others as well. And so the more people that do it, I mean, we could change this world so quickly if everybody did that. We really could.
Yeah.
And do you think that in the future, do you think you're going to carry anything about meditation or spiritual work of any sort on your blog too, or?
Yeah.
Time. I mean, it's a lot of work.
like I was saying, our bigger mission is an all-encompassing lifestyle. It's something that I want to have resources for people to where they can really tap into the free resources, little things. I have tons of people I'm aligned with that are, certified breath work instructors and, people that do different types of energy movement and martial arts and things like that. So really just collecting those resources that are available to me and making a digital presentation of them on the website. That's definitely one of the priorities.
Well, if there's ever anybody that you think would be good to have on my podcast, please send them my way.
Yeah, there's a few people that come to mind. We'll talk about that for sure.
Yeah. Because I'm always looking to bring people on that can enlighten people even more, give them, other tools to work with. And even if sometimes people cover the same ground, sometimes the way one person says it versus another person, it just, I don't know, it just kind of fills in gaps, or, somebody just works better hearing from one person than another. I don't know how to explain that, but it's just the way it is. We have visual learners, auditory learners. We have all different kinds of learners. And right now, it's a very important time for people to educate themselves, to protect themselves, to improve their physical condition, because I truly believe that the more toxic that you are, the harder it is for your body to hold the light. So what you do is you clean out the system in, including your thoughts and that type of thing, through self-inquiry, to get to the point where you can really shine your light. And the more light codes that come in, your body is prepared and ready to handle it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love that you mentioned, detoxing the emotional baggage too, because everything that we consume, media, if you got the news or just television in general on, or, you're scrolling through social media or just on your phone all day, consuming all of that media is
negative. And it's usually negative.
it's affecting your nervous system, no doubt. And it's affecting your dopamine response and all these different neurotransmitters that play a key role in our motivation, our happiness, and our connection to the divine. So you just being more mindful of those things. And it's always interesting to me, you know, like here we are on an internet platform being digitally broadcasted across the world through, you know, the power of YouTube and Rumble and these other channels, right?
Yes.
And we, you know, I have an e-commerce store where people can go and purchase these products that I've found very beneficial in my life, and a lot of people have found very beneficial. And, you know, in a lot of ways, we're engaging with these technologies that are causing a lot of damage on one side of the spectrum. But then when you look at how it's also this, you know, extension of our own evolution of, you know, which is, in my opinion, really all technology is an extension of human thought and innovation and our own, you know, kind of, it's our own creation, and it's, you know, there's God in it, just like there's God in all things. Doesn't mean that I'm about to let Elon Musk put a Neuralink in my brain or anything like that.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm
I saw,
glad.
a comment
Same
that
here.
the only thing
I
that
don't
scares me
think
is
so.
AI. Yeah, you know, the Matrix is real. You know, you hear that people say the Matrix was a documentary, and the plugging into, you know, my consciousness into artificial intelligence is not something you'll ever see me in line for or signed up to do. And I hope that we have our, you know, our sustainable permaculture garden set up off grid all across the world by then. And like, we're living in that paradise that we're internally creating right now as we speak. And, you know, I believe that we could realize that, and that even if the world does go that route, and that's the timeline that we've been put on, is this, you know, it's bound to happen to some extent, right? Where we start to connect human consciousness with artificial intelligence. And, you know, we have all of these scary movies that I grew up on, like the Terminator, play out. And that's not something that I would ever want to see or bear witness to the world go, like having to go through, you know. But after these last 3 years with COVID and everything that we've seen, it's like, you know, there's just going to be people that are ready to jump on the trucks that are going to the slaughterhouse, so to speak.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. When people say, why did people in Germany do that? Why did they just get on? Why? Well, look at, why are people lining up right now for the program?
So just cultivating a deep level of understanding and compassion in that area for myself, and realizing that just like, you know, I didn't wear a mask or get jabbed or any of the things that they wanted us to do the last 3 years. Right. And a lot of your audience too, I'm sure, you know, I mean, I say that to say this: when it comes to, you know, these bigger, in my eyes, like, you know, more challenging topics, like connecting our consciousness to a computer program or some type of software, hardware, there's no way, you know, non-compliance conform, like, you know, planned non-compliance is like all that I can speak on with that. It's just, there's no way that I'd be doing it. But
it's all the compliance that's gotten us into the trouble and prolonged this as long as it has gone on.
yeah, so, you know, just a reminder to anybody that is listening out there, if you're having any doubts in your mind about the state of the world or the direction that it's going, first of all, you're totally validated, and that's understandable. But second of all, you know, there are enough of us who see this light and this vision and are able to hold the container for us to still create our own heaven on earth and our own, you know, perceived paradise, just through what we already know, because mother provides. You know, we are very blessed. We have a mother that is hurting right now, but she loves us and she provides for us. And you know, we can see that right here. And one of her gifts is Shilajit and these other, you know, I mean, the medicine in the rainforest, the medicine in the Himalayas, and some of the other areas on this planet that we have access to. It's more than big pharma's ever given us. That's for sure.
That is definitely for sure. And we
It's-
always had the means and the herbs and the so on. And because, like you said, Mother Earth has provided so much and given so much and never stops giving, really. Um, and it's time for us to step up and um, stand up for Mother Earth and stand up for our neighbors and stand up for people that need help and be kind and considerate and respectful and have a vision of beauty and wonderment for our forthcoming future.
yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice? All right. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit of ground here. And as usual, you always give a very informative presentation, and I thank you for that. And I'm sure the audience thanks you as well. Do you have anything else you'd like to say or bring up before we go?
I just want to give you guys my prayers in motion. We are, when I say we, I just mean like my family and everybody that's on the team with Lajit. We really humbled to be able to serve the world in the capacity that we have been able to, and we're very, very honored to help you and guide you on a path. But there's a key thing that I really just resonated with me deeply when I did a healing session recently. I went did a bioelectric massage, and the masseuse told me that there's no way that they could heal me. They don't have the power to heal me. They only have the power to heal themselves. And I think that resonated with me so deeply because, I'm not a doctor or, a medical professional or even like in,
Sometimes that's a good thing.
yeah, right. I mean, which is fine. But the work that I do, I feel like helps people along on their healing journey. And it's not anything that I'm doing. I'm not a healer in the sense that I have the power to heal anybody, and I don't think anybody has the power to heal any.
Right. I agree with you.
But we all have the power to heal ourselves, and
people can provide tools or help to facilitate it, but that's about it because it really comes down to the person's individual responsibility and ability. They have more ability than they think.
Yeah, and the ability to respond. So if you feel like there's some type of support that we can offer you, whether it's through Shilajit or through some of the other modalities that we've talked about, then definitely use the links to get in touch with me and to get in touch with our crew at Lajit and ask us any questions that you guys have, and we're more than happy to assist you with that. And as always, it's really great to be here with you, Gail, and the free range audience. I love you guys, and I'm sure that there will be an occurrence where we're able to come back together in the future.
For sure. No problem. We'll do that and see where things are at that point in time. And I can't thank you enough, Ben. It's always a pleasure. And we'll see you again in the future. And good luck with your the new edition of the Omni collaboration. And I love the Lajit. I really do. If you haven't tried it, at least give it a try. And I say that sincerely. I do. It's good stuff. So thank you, Ben. Yeah, I guess that'll be a wrap for today. Yeah. Bye, everyone.